What is up? We're live. This is the Bitcoin Magazine Happy Hour. Thanks for joining us. Oh shit, my name tags are a little whack. Let me hide those and fix it later. All right, we're here. We're drinking beer. We're talking about the one thing that all banks fear. It's Bitcoin Magazine Happy Hour. I'm here with my co-host Joe Rodgers. What's up,
Welcome.
Joe?
Glad to be here. We got an all-star lineup of some real Bitcoiners in the house. So I'm glad that, Tommy, I feel like we're taking over. We kicked CK out of here, and I think we're stepping up the host game big time.
We're gonna level this thing up for sure. Let's do a little round of introductions. Let's start with Javier. What's going on, man?
Yo, hello, friends, and thanks for having me. My name is Javier Bastardo. I'm from Venezuela. I'm in Caracas, and I am the organizer of a Bitcoin-only educational project that is named Satoshi in Venezuela. And well, I'm trying to learn a lot about Bitcoin to share this with the people that is suffering the same things that I'm suffering in the country. So thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here to chat with you guys.
Yeah, thanks, man. Amazing. Yeah, Bitcoin in Venezuela is a huge topic. It's great to have you here. Richard, what's up, man? Introduce yourself.
Hey guys. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, my name is Richard James. In Melbourne, Australia. It's still morning here, so I haven't quite we haven't quite clicked over to. Maybe at midday I can crack a drink. I guess my been interested in Bitcoin for a while, and before that, Austrian economics has sort of been the thing that led me to Bitcoin. I got a couple of films that I made. One's called Hard Money, and the other's called Anatomy of the State. They're both you can watch them free online. They're not directly about Bitcoin, but they're like, the aim is to sort of lead people to the edge of the rabbit hole, I suppose. And so that's me, and glad to be with you.
Awesome. Yeah, Bitcoin education. Sorry, Jacob.
Well, I said glad to meet you, and I also wanted to comment. Anatomy of the State. That's not just the edge of Bitcoin. That's right into the animal in 50 pages.
Yeah, Rothbard is that was the idea. That book is just it's like 50 pages long, and it's like brain explosion. So it certainly changed my view of the world. So I wanted to try and do it in a visual format, do it justice.
Hell yeah. Well, Jacob, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jacob Gadikian, and over like 6 years or so, I have done nearly everything in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, from being like a user and a first-time investor in 2014 to building the orchestration systems in large-scale Bitcoin mining facilities, to launching new proof-of-stake blockchains. And currently, I think if I had to choose anything, I'd say that I'm really a researcher. I spend a lot of time expressing the thesis that, in fact, Bitcoin made altcoins inevitable, and that it's really just an extension of free coinage, and that all those chains surrounding it are going to carry Bitcoin's value. It's piping for Bitcoin, interestingly.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. We should definitely dive into that a little bit more. Anil, what's going on, man? Introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name's Anil, and I hate central bankers.
You're in good company.
No, I mean, that's obviously very much true, but I'm an educator in the space. I spend my time helping people understand Bitcoiners. I'm mostly focused on pre-coiners. And yeah, it's just a really cool grassroots space to be in, kind of, orange pilling people. And I gotta give Rich I got to give you a shout out, man, because hard money is like the easiest way to orange pill someone in 30 minutes. It's insane. So kudos for making
Thanks, Anil.
that.
That's very kind of you, man. And I can say the same about some of your Twitter threads.
Yeah, definitely a good place.
But
to get
I think
orange
we're
pill.
all got the same goal
Cheers,
in
man.
mind, haven't we? Which is and we're all kind of, it's like everyone's gradually refining that message. Like how, it's amazing how far that's come in the last year or two. Kind of amassing this information and refining it and putting it forward to people in the most digestible way.
Yeah, totally. It's cool to see what works, which analogies like really resonate with people. Just quickly, so I actually taught a class last night, a bunch of undergrad business students, and the quality of the questions they had just made me so psyched and bullish for this cycle, because it's like everyone's knowledge base has just been totally upgraded. People are coming at this from such a mature, educated angle that the long-term future of this is just so optimistic.
Damn right. The gig is up for fiat. Be afraid, bankers. Definitely a lot of orange pillars, educators. This is going to be a good stream for you pre-coiners out there who happen to stumble upon this. Stick around. I want to give a very special welcome to FractalEncrypt, a Bitcoin artist, a cypherpunk artist through and through. If you haven't been exposed to FractalEncrypt's work, go to bitcoinmagazine.com right now. We have an article on the homepage that basically explains FractalEncrypt's, I would say his masterpiece. Definitely what he's known for. FractalEncrypt, let's hear about it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much for having me. Sounds like we got an amazing group of people coming from all over, so I'll give a quick introduction. Like you said, I'm pretty much an artist, so I work in basically trying to take data and turn it into stories that are communicatable. I think like we all have our own talents. So Bitcoin is a decentralized system, so everybody can help in their own way. Some people code, some people do this, that. Some people are researchers. My way is different than other people, but I like to bring beauty to the world, and Bitcoin feels like a place where we can shine some light on. It's very difficult to understand and kind of approach with people. So by providing some comforting visuals, something that people can approach, hey, it's like an artist, not a programmer. Like they'll come up and ask me questions, and I can get pretty technical. So I could scare them away sometimes, but I try to bring them in gently.
Oh, I mean, your artwork definitely looks technical. If you could describe it in one word, I would say it's technical as all hell, but nice. Beautiful.
Good distillation there. I couldn't do it in one word.
I mean, it's there's a lot of technical stuff going on there, and you can really dive deep. But
are we talking about the RealTime Visualizer?
No, this is not a real-time visualizer. This is what he's talking about is actually an art piece that I created using a laser cutter with wood. So I basically created a Bitcoin full node that's an analog art piece that's all made out of wood. So that's what he's referencing. It's like a pretty big thing. So it's like about 3 feet around, big circle. So
yeah, how much does that thing weigh?
It weighs about 50 pounds. It's pretty dang heavy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's solid.
Wow.
It's a nice piece. Go check that out. The article's on bitcoinmagazine.com. You wrote that article, right? And it's explaining the piece.
Yeah, that was really something kind of both, I guess, cathartic to me in some way to like get that all out. It's in my head. I've tried to explain it to people for the past year, and it seems to be very difficult to kind of capture all the different things. So by actually just taking the time, sitting there, writing it all out, and kind of pointing to different things that I felt were important, that it's just been so much better for me now. I could just point to this article rather than say, hey, this is all the things in there. So to me, one of the things that was really interesting to me is I sent it to my parents, of course, and they're not really Bitcoiners at all. They don't like understand Bitcoin or know anything about that, but they like my art. So they sent it to all the family and like in a group email. And now I've been getting like group emails from the whole family. I think we orange pilled the whole bunch of them.
Shit. I mean, that's the mission of Bitcoin Magazine. So thanks for contributing and helping to orange pill some people. That's beautiful.
Hey, real
Nice.
talk though. I want to talk about a community effort for all of us. We must lobby Michael Saylor to update the background. I want his pirate ship gone, and I
For
want
real.
the sculpture behind him.
Oh yes,
That
we
would
must
be the
meme this
most.
into reality.
If
We
he
have
knows what's
to.
up.
Yes.
God's work. That's great.
Hell yeah.
How much? What was the? Did you put a poll up yesterday, Fractal?
Yeah, that came from actually a comment that someone made that was just like that, and in a thread that I made Sunday announcing the auction. Someone said, "Oh man, that would look really cool in Michael Saylor's library," and I was like, you know what? Yeah, somebody should Photoshop that into, his library. And with a decentralized project, nobody's the boss. So if you see a job to do, guess what? You're hired. So I kind of hired myself to do the Photoshop stuff real quick, and once I did the little picture with the poll, I was like, man, this actually does look kind of at home here.
It looks legit on the wall. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but check out FractalEncrypt's Twitter and you can see the Photoshop, and it's.
Yeah, I'll drop my
That's
Twitter in the
fantastic.
little chat here so you guys
Yeah.
have that.
Hell yeah.
He has that boat because he is trying to tell us that he already had the boat accident. So maybe the sculpture will be.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I hate those boating accidents, man.
Will
They
the
happen
sculpture
so
make it to the
frequently.
bottom of the
So
ocean?
many.
It happens, friend.
My brother just bought a little new boat, and I was like, "Oh, this could be an opportunity to take a little boat trip."
Man, we
Not
did
quite a
so
Michael
good all the first
Saylor.
times we went out.
Yeah.
Sailor style, but it'll do the job for a boating accident.
Absolutely.
Who wants to be the one to explain the boating accident to all the pre-coiners, or should we not?
Let them find out the hard
Explain
way.
what?
Just Google it.
Yeah.
I mean, no, yeah,
You might
they
find
will
yourself
figure
in a
it
boating
out,
accident.
Yeah, when they get that first warning letter from their local tax authority, they'll understand.
That's right.
I think, talking about IRS regulations should be great fun for all the listeners.
Well, I mean, there's plenty to talk about, but I don't know if we'll go there just yet. Joe, what?
Yeah,
what are
let
the
me
topics?
just
Take
kick it
over.
off. I think that we're kind of on a thread of one of the points that we wanted to talk about. I just want to kick it off. We're kind of in the same thread here. Let's talk about Bitcoin and art. And we've got a couple artists and a couple creators in the room now. But I think that it's more than just art. We were talking about memes and ideas being sharpened. So I'd like to put it out to the community. Maybe Richard, maybe you can just kick it off for us. And guys, feel free to interrupt and tell him he's wrong at any point. But love to get your perspective on, how the art game has changed, how ideas have sharpened. I know that you mentioned it at a high level, but this is something that really fascinates me. And I feel like since it is decentralized, free and open source, what we're seeing is just rapid advancement, development in messaging. And that's why Bitcoin is the strongest meme known to mankind of all time.
Yeah, man, I agree. And what I'm speaking for myself, and also the feeling I get the more I get to know people in the community, is that for anyone who's got some artistic, aspiration, Bitcoin is kind of like this muse that helps to draw that out of you. Like, I know for me, I sort of, in the past decade or so, I kind of let just real life overtake you, and you're working your job and you got a family and stuff to do, and that is obviously important life work in itself. But yeah, it was Bitcoin that inspired me to go back and really it made me start working on these creative projects again. And it's just because you've got something, you feel like all of a sudden that you've got something to say, something really important to say. And so we're seeing this in all different media. There's been a lot of incredible Bitcoin writing for a long time, but now we're seeing all these other different ways of expressing the ideas come forward. There's
do you
a
think
shout out.
Do you think that is signifies that as a movement, it's like here to stay? When the artists come, is it like, okay, it's part of culture now?
it's got to be an important part of the process, hasn't it? It just still shocks me every day just how many people there are. Like every day it feels like I get to know someone new, or someone else comes out of the woodwork whose life is consumed by kind of supporting this project. So I think the support for it amongst, I guess it's a virtual community in that we're all spread across the entire planet. And I mean, that's represented here in the panel today. But I think it's an unstoppable force, you know. I mean, each individual act doesn't seem like much. Okay, I'm painting a picture, I'm recording a little podcast, something, but you know, the sum total of all that is a movement that I agree. I don't think it can be stopped.
Life consuming. I think that was really the key word. And I think that actually is what's driving the entrance of the arts. I just auctioned off a painting of Fallacian, the actual title, on the blog blockchain that I'm running Flirt. And the thing is, I bought it from somebody I was the auctioneer and the buyer in this case, but anyhow, they're in Europe. I'm an Asian. This would have been completely impossible. And, you know, on the entire Bitcoin argument, well, way I see it, none of these other layers surrounding Bitcoin's core of value would even exist if it weren't for Bitcoin kicking it off and even giving people the option to screw around with technology in that way. So can I say, without Bitcoin, none of it would even really matter. That's why I'm hoping to see the pipes expand. And I don't really think that, for example, layer 1 fees are going to be an issue. And last little.
Uh-oh.
I don't really care about NFTs. I think it's mostly about connecting people with money. People associate that big time.
Yeah,
but
the NFTs on ETH seem to, I mean, there's definitely some stuff going on that you think might be a little fishy, and it's not like pure art world stuff going on. I don't know. Definitely.
I mean, when he said, I don't care about NFTs, they just connect people with money, that is the whole world.
Yeah. I mean,
that's not just you, you know, that's pretty much what, you know, what's going on there.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't get it. I know there's a lot of effort behind it.
No, not discounting that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't get them, but I think that all of these networks put together are basically Bitcoin, except for the ones that try and exclude on Bitcoin, which is just silly. The better a conduit any blockchain is, or I sometimes just call them distributed systems. Any distributed system is, for Bitcoin's value, this is a multiplying effect.
Yeah, I mean, the chains will battle it out, and with NFTs specifically, if it's not on, I mean, I'm guilty. I've got some ETH NFTs out there, but I'm really excited for NFTs to come to Bitcoin and find their home on the real chain, and that's when I think it's really going to pop off, and people will understand the value prop of an NFT. And Rare Pepe's obviously kicked it all off. I think if you hold some Rare Pepe's right now, you're going to be pretty happy in a few years. That's for sure.
No, I mean, I made some shitcoin tokens too, you know, I have some tokens of art on ETH, but you know, as an artist, you look at a blockchain for its immutability, and then you look at ETH and then you just laugh and you're like, oh shit, that they didn't even make it through the DAO. Is my stuff gonna last forever on the blockchain in quotes? Right. Or I see what you're saying on Bitcoin, you feel like you have some longevity and some staying power.
If immutability is the value prop, and just the place where that file is ultimately stored forever, however it gets done with whatever extra layers are needed to store the data, if it's not ultimately on the Bitcoin blockchain, it's only as good as that blockchain. So, but
exactly,
we're in very much test mode as far as I'm concerned with NFTs, and there's a lot of money going into this test. So
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
NFTs are one side of it for sure, and they're actually a super interesting side because it's something that, you know, artists haven't really had before. So it's a very tricky, slippery slope, you know, like I definitely support artists making money in whatever way they can, but I also then I go through like from a first principles perspective, I feel like a little bad, like, hey, some people are coming into this and are they almost like getting hoodwinked a little? But not to get too distracted from the original question about art, like I feel like because Bitcoin touches so many places and life, you know, it touches so many different places and family and this and culture and community and finance and politics that it doesn't have a well-defined aesthetic. So for artists to come in, it's very it's free, you know, like you're not kind of linked into any one aesthetic or any one design style. Like I went to Grateful Dead shows for many years and like everybody had tie dyes and this and that, and like I was like, man, you know, I want to make something different, you know, like something that no one's got out here. So that's kind of one of the things I did. I started making art that was like, you know, in brand in a sense, but like something that was different from what's around. And I think with Bitcoin, that's a lot easier for artists. So I think that's going to be very welcoming for a lot of people, which is good. You know, you're going to have some people that are going to be traders. They're going to make trading art with charts and stuff like that. And then you're going to have like technical people like me that make like, you know, programmer-ish type art. And then you're going to have other people that make, you know, whatever it is. So it's like, and that's good because people like different styles. Like not everybody's going to like what I make, which is totally fine. So like, I think having that open ecosystem is going to be beneficial for Bitcoin.
So you've built and sold NFTs?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I have.
What was
Awesome.
cool about it to you? Like, what? Like, can you tell me a little bit about it? Because it's an area, you know, I said I'm a researcher, certainly something I'm looking at, but I haven't really fully comprehended yet.
Absolutely. So like early 2018, I started like looking at like the Ethereum smart contract platforms that were available for artists. And there was a couple of them that were developing, and I've worked with a couple of them that were just starting out. And I put some art out on them. And in one sense, it was very freeing because like you could now monetize digital art, which was never a thing before. Like for an artist, that's very like amazing because now you can, you know, you spend all this time doing all this work and making these beautiful images and stuff. But really, like once you put it on the internet, that's like anybody can steal it and use it however they can. Not that they can't with NFTs, but then there's at least some kind of monetization aspect that the artist can get. But the deeper that you look at that, like there's really not much connection to the token and the art and like, you know, like how it's all housed and stuff, kind of as Nick was alluding to before, like where is it housed? Is it even on Ethereum? And then like there's not only Ethereum, I know there's a whole bunch of chains now and I'm not really educated in those because I was just doing Ethereum when it was there. But yeah, like, I don't know, as an artist, like it just, you have to look at your art supplies, like the quality of your art supplies. So like the blockchain that you're working with is also like that. So it's like, I think this is all important stuff and really good questions. Thank you, Jacob.
You hit the nail on the head about where the
Certainly,
data is
that's
stored
quotable.
too.
Oh, the blockchain is an art supply. Wow.
Yeah, actually,
Absolutely.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, especially with Ethereum, you know, you got to pay gas fees. I mean, like for my art piece now that I did like a certificate of authenticity on the Bitcoin blockchain. So I did actually a coin join transaction and I did an op return data output that said I certify that FractalEncrypt created the full node sculpture on January 3rd. And, you know, I was able to include that in a transaction. So now like the, you know, the certificate of authenticity for the Bitcoin full node is on the blockchain and the blockchain is inside the full node. And so now we have like a meta circle within a circle. And so, yeah, it's an art supply, man. Awesome. Among other things.
Yeah.
I know plenty of Bitcoin artists because before launching Satoshi in Venezuela, I was a reporter. I was working in Crypto Noticias, so that is a Spanish outlet of crypto news and stuff. And I personally know that many of the Bitcoin artists have this kind of a struggle because maybe you can find a very cool way to make money through the NFTs that are in other blockchains, but maybe the maximalist or the plebs or the Bitcoiners will throw you some shit because you are shit coining and stuff like that. And I personally know the experience of my man Lucho Poleri. Lucho made us some flyers from the project, and for free he gave us his art. He's a a reformed shitcoiner. He was branded like Hodl Crypto, and now he's orange peeling all the people around, and he don't have the opportunity to NFT his art on the Bitcoin blockchain, and he's not a shitcoiner because of that. And
I do have
I
some
know
Lucio
other.
Paletti NFTs though. I collect. I have some. And
Yes,
they're still
and
Bitcoin-y.
I mean, our art is a way to communicate the Bitcoin message, and he has a really strong and powerful way to communicate the Bitcoin message, like the Satoshi mask and all the propaganda art that he combines in his art. So I think that maybe we need to be, I don't know if more open to these guys to do this, but art will be doing the thing for Bitcoin. I mean, Fractal with the sculpture that will be behind Chad Sailor soon, and the Bitcoiners artists that are doing their best to. I mean, like Pascal Boyard, that he's a really great street artist, and
He's going to be at
is
the
doing
conference.
okay. Well. I mean, we have a lot of people doing art things, beautiful art things, and well, NFTs are cool. We hope to have them in side chains, or maybe a layer two that is only for NFTs in Bitcoin. But well, meanwhile, have fun making money. Don't scam anybody, but the message is still there. I mean,
Yeah, the market is the ETH market for NFTs is definitely where the money's at, and it's a shame that the Bitcoin NFT market is nowhere near that at this point. But I think it's got it's got its best days ahead of it.
I think it's coming. I had a great interview with Crypto Graffiti a couple weeks ago, and guys may know him for his series not Ministry of Nodes, but United States
BTC versus Fed. Oh yeah,
BTC versus the Fed. The US dollar that has the hooded George Washington on it. I mean, really
United
fantastic.
Nodes.
And he is real bullish on finally getting some kind of NFT platform that's native to Bitcoin, because he really doesn't like the whole other coin.
I'm surprised I haven't gotten more shit for it, to be honest.
I'll give you some shit right now.
Please.
Yeah,
do.
after this call, we're gonna have another call.
What?
So I'm not sure that Bitcoin will ever develop NFTs, and I'm not sure that this matters, like Bitcoin native NFTs. Now, FractalEncrypt mentioned a whole scheme with op return. Sounds actually really cool, and you could definitely like uniquely label objects that way. My feeling is, though, Bitcoin solved money, okay? And then people went and realized, holy shit, oh my God, we can program the money. Out comes Ethereum. And not only that, but you could only bootstrap Ethereum because of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin exchanges existed, because And then the third layer being decentralized applications. So my feeling is that it's sort of like saying any NFT is a Bitcoin NFT. Everything is bootstrapped off of Bitcoin.
Well, I mean, I think
the question becomes. Go ahead.
No. You go ahead, please.
I was gonna say for Bitcoin artists, like, you might be choosing whatever tool best suits your needs to get your creative expression out there. The question is, if you make a sale, what do you do with that revenue or those profits? Do you
sats.
Keep it in ETH, or do you put it into
I mean, this is a great question.
Savings account. So
yeah, well, no, actually, this is actually a very important question. So, like, once you're paid in ETH, so for an artist, Ethereum has an account-based address system, whereas Bitcoin has a UTXO-based system, meaning that Ethereum, like, if an artist has an account that's like visible to the world, then it's also visible to the IRS and anybody else. So like whatever's going into that account, like they need to duly like make, accommodations for that. Also, if they've ever participated in an ICO or anything like that, doxing their, if they've ever like Coinbase like has sent Bitcoin to that. I mean, Ethereum to that address, then it's all linked in. You've doxed yourself, and you need to account for that, and claim all your taxes and all this shit. So it's like there's a lot of layers to it. And then also, like, as far as holding stuff for your descendants, like, when you're holding stuff, how do you securely hold ETH in a ledger? Oh my god, we just fucking saw what happened with Ledger and stuff. Like, no, like, so it's like, are you going to hold something that you can give to your descendants? Are you using it as money? You're just going to get rid of it right now? You're going to buy coffee? Like, what are you doing with this ETH anyway? So that's a good question, man. I like that.
Yeah, I personally reinvest most of the ETH that I make selling NFTs into buying other artists' NFTs. I just can't help myself. I collect a lot of NFTs, and I really shouldn't, because when I look back at what I could have had in Bitcoin terms, or the sats that I could have stacked, but hey, I like supporting other artists, and like, this is the way to do it right now.
No, that's cool. But then you guys are feeding the miners, the Ethereum miners, in a sense, just to move
shit! You don't even want to know how much I've spent on gas to do all this stuff.
I can imagine.
Stupid.
This is the proof of market viability for Ethereum. And that's it right there. People really pay to use that thing, and I have a really difficult time just like categorically knocking it with fees so high and usage sustained. Like, well, okay. You must. I occasionally, like, my last transaction was probably a month or two ago, but I mean,
yeah, I did one today. It was like $10 in gas.
Is if the fees go higher, that means network usage is healthier in a sense, and people are using it, and that's exactly correct.
Yep.
I didn't think of it that way. I thought it sucks because the fees were high, but like, okay.
Yeah, I've spent like $80 in gas one time to mint an NFT, and I don't think I sold the thing. So you got to really think about it before you do it, and that's kind of like the art supply thing, right? Like, if it costs you money to do it, then it's an art supply that's a little bit of overhead, but like, that's just the way.
I mean, in that circumstance, it absolutely is, because like, it's like your canvas. You need a canvas. You need to pay for your canvas and stuff. So in this case, minting your thing, like, it's not a big deal. That's an art supply. It's a legitimate business expense. You got to do that. So like, I think that's totally fine. It's a permanent
canvas, hopefully.
Yeah. Well. But yes, I get you. And an infinite one.
The point of this wasn't to go down this NFT rabbit hole. It was really thoughts and perspectives on Bitcoin art itself, how it's maturing over time. But I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say. I think that Bitcoin being free and open source, like some of you guys said, there's going to be a lot of different entry points. Fractal, your sculpture is going to speak to a certain kind of person. Richard, your movies are going to speak to a different kind of person. Anil, your tweet threads, they're going to capture a certain audience. And this is the beauty of Bitcoin. And kind of my final thought on it is that if, this whole NFT movement and, dematerialize all the things is a real thing, it will undoubtedly come to Bitcoin in one way or another. And I have no doubt that there's builders out there trying to fix this or figure out this problem and bring this market to some kind of Bitcoin side chain, some kind of layered solution. I think it's a matter of time. And Jaguar, I definitely respect what you say too. It's like all these shit coins are essentially side chains of Bitcoin.
They just don't
but
know
at the same
yet.
time, they're not, So, but I definitely, I hear what you're saying, and I respect your perspective because I haven't thought about it.
Be highly discriminatory, okay? Because there are absolute shitcoins out there that are basically not basically, they're literally straight scams. And at the same time, I think that there are a lot of really good ideas being expressed, like both the code layer and at the concept layer.
Sure.
And so I'd encourage anybody, especially noobs, because some of my first investments were I liked those pie in the sky ideas, right? I thought it sounded really, really good that we could just, one of them was made safe, which I don't know, like I like what they're supposedly doing, but it's been 6 years now.
I'll give them time.
Yeah, almost 7 since I did that. And certainly I would have been better off, just staying in BTC, right? But like at the same time, if you were to look for stuff that genuinely adds new abilities to the overall ecosystem, could be some cool stuff. But
Well, this is the pushback that I've always heard. You know, like if a shitcoin develops something truly remarkable, Bitcoin can adopt it, and that comes down to Bitcoin being anti-fragile. Because if something better comes along, we can adopt it and we can build it in.
I mean, and you see that happening with these DLCs and the discrete log contracts on Bitcoin. You know, like they're you know, there's definitely options that are being incorporated, and a lot of it can happen on layer 2. So you have layer 1, that's your base layer that you don't fuck with, and then you have layer 2 that you can be a little more YOLO and do stuff. And I can definitely say there's people working on Bitcoin, you know, on second layer stuff that I'm sorry, Bitcoin art on second layer stuff related to NFTs that's definitely going on right now. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. It's not really released, but it's definitely something that people are working on.
Yeah.
So bullish.
One thing I think is important to point out, though, is like the kind of art that Bitcoiners are creating is usually geared around educating people about Bitcoin, whereas art on other platforms is more about, you know, just expressing yourself. So I think that kind of speaks to how much investment artists have in Bitcoin's future, especially like, you know, Fractal, the thing you made is just, I can't imagine how many hours that took. And Richard, like your art is specifically geared at helping people understand, you know, why we might find something like Bitcoin useful. So I think there's a real difference between Bitcoin artists and everyone else.
I agree with you.
There's
two quite separate things going on. One is like Bitcoin as a source of inspiration or a source of content for art is the one, and then the other is the utility of blockchains for artists, like regardless of their content, and hopefully there is it seems obvious that there is a utility. It's actually, and that's, you guys, it's interesting listening to you guys because talk about it and the NFT thing, because it's not something I know anything about. So that's great if whether it's Bitcoin or another blockchain, if it's helping artists in some way, regardless of their content, that's fantastic. But yeah, undeniably, Bitcoin's also this source of inspiration for the content itself.
Look, hey, I'm gonna hijack the conversation. I'm gonna move to a new topic. I think that was a really fascinating conversation, but some of the hottest news over the past 7 days has been what the hell has been happening with Wall Street Bets, Robinhood fucking around, deplatforming stocks, silencing people, GameStop's massive rise and massive fall. And I'd love to get some perspective. Anil, do you have any thoughts on this? Have you been tracking this from where you are? Do you know what the hell is happening over here?
Vaguely, but I kind of see it as the result of interest rates being manipulated downwards over time. Purchasing
Are you
power
saying you hate
decreasing
central
over
bankers?
You said that, not me. Yeah, that's just, we're all just on the same page. But I think it's just the result of people realizing any money they have sitting in a bank account or a savings account is not going to keep its value or maintain its value. So you have so many people being forced into becoming investors. And I think we're just kind of seeing the result of that.
You know how I learned about inflation for the first time, or actually like kind of grasp it for the first time? Caddyshack. Watching Caddyshack. And they were like, I'm not paying no 25 cents for no Coke. And it's like, wait a minute.
In the Caddyshack argument about the Coke, I know the exact scene.
Exactly. And we're just like conditioned to think that inflation is just a natural part of life, and just like, you know, as we go through time, the number's going to go up, and the number going up is the rate of inflation. And yeah, as soon as you kind of get orange pilled, obviously, about how back asswards that is, yeah, the deflationary mindset kicks in, and Bitcoin seems to be the option. It is. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But Robinhood.
And I think that kind of sucks. You think about how many hours of collective time is being used trying to invest rather than actually just, you know, do what is valuable and then be able to save in something that doesn't, you know, decrease over time. I think it's a tragedy. Yeah.
I mean, well, Robinhood, this situation here is actually like a pretty Orwellian situation where you have people doing exactly what you said, trying to flee the cash asset into something else that might be, you know, a little more safe for them, where it's not going to lose all their money. And then you have a retail app like Robinhood, which is one of the few places non-accredited investors, everybody else, can go and invest. And that the whole thing turns out to be a scam that is actually selling all the deal flow. So as all the retail investors are purchasing their stocks, you know, milliseconds before that, all that deal flow is going to Citadel, who's harvesting it and making whatever money that they're going to make off of the retail investors. It's a true situation of, if something's free, you are the product. So it's super Orwellian in the fact that they're taking these people trying to keep their savings in something else and then using that to, you know, fluff the pockets of Wall Street once again. It's a horrible scam, and like definitely those people need to go to Bitcoin.
I feel like Robinhood doesn't even have a good UX either. I actually like.
I don't
just
know.
got
They have fake Bitcoin there.
Yeah, I downloaded Robinhood for the first time when all this GME stuff started happening, and I mean, it's been kind of fun, but I prefer the Cash App where you just can stack sats and it's, you know, nice and easy.
You can hold that.
What's that?
You can take your sats into the Cash App and you can pull them out.
Yes,
right,
they're
yeah,
real.
exactly.
They're real.
Yeah, they're not IOU Yeah. No, yeah, the fact that you can withdraw your sats from Cash App, even if there's a limit, like that is night and day versus a PayPal or a Robinhood that only allows you to buy and sell. I mean, if that's your game, if that's what you're trying to do, then that's a pretty, you know, turnkey solution for that. But if you want to actually hold your keys, you can't. So
that's a really weird situation because you have to wonder about like rehypothecation, and is there even anything to rehypothecate? Do you just have a database, or do you just selling like more than 21 million Bitcoin because no one's like, you're never going to take it off?
Yeah, a derivative of Bitcoin, like
it's a tiny bit dangerous
like
for the real Bitcoiners. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know anything at all. I think that rehypothecated Bitcoin is directly coming our way, and I think that, you know, there are a lot of avenues where people can profit from rehypothecating Bitcoin. And I imagine that various firms are going to concoct schemes that allow them to do exactly that. They do it with gold already, so why not Bitcoin?
Well, it'll happen. I mean, it's already happened. And like the way I see it, especially with NFTs, going back to that, it's like if your shitcoin touches Bitcoin in a way, or like actively leverages Bitcoin, and like it's clear that the end game is that this is like a layer on top of Bitcoin, then that's one thing. And then everything else is a whole nother thing. And yeah, like you said, there's going to be a lot more of the ones that touch Bitcoin as these people realize that their shit's a scam and they need to actually use the real blockchain.
I saw somebody tweeting the other day that the new ICO like flow seems to be like shitcoins that are attaching to Bitcoin. You know, like before it was like, hey, we're better than Bitcoin. You know, it's slow. It's like expensive. Now we're the fast, cheap one. Now everybody knows that's kind of scammy. So they're like, hey, let's build onto Bitcoin. And that's like the new thing. So I did see somebody else tweet that. So it's definitely, it must be the meme floating around.
Well, if you can settle transactions over here and have it cost whatever, and all of that gets settled down to Bitcoin, then that's useful. And if you know, you can build all kinds of things on top of that. That's basically what the Lightning Network is. Yeah, and you're right. The gig is up for the new blockchains, I guess.
Yeah, I think that there's a very serious question of like who can offer the best set of trade-offs for a Bitcoin peg. I'm personally not too satisfied with Lightning. I actually managed to lose funds with Lightning back in like, it was mid 2018. I should not be losing funds just because I'm pretty experienced. And so I have to wonder, you know, about people who are less experienced. If you go to the LND repository, you actually see there's a whole bunch of people who had basically the same issue that I did with Lightning, and I attribute it to a lack of finality. And Joe, I wanted to comment something to you, Joe. You were saying that any feature that gets added like adjacent to Bitcoin can just sort of borg on and add that as well. It's actually not true. Bitcoin is really, really well designed to be money and like nothing else. It almost pushes out other use cases because of the, I don't know, some people call it ossification or rigidity of its design. It's also not very fast. So if you want contracts, you want an application, you probably don't actually want Bitcoin. And that's like totally all right though, because it solves money the best because of those characteristics.
I mean, it definitely solves the money thing, but you're talking Lightning in summer of 2018, and we're thinking it just coming online in January 2018. It was pretty obvious it was beta stuff at that point, and people were saying like hashtag reckless if you put money on Lightning. So I hear you, but also at the same time, it wasn't like a big secret that like shit was like unstable. It's still not super stable, I'll be honest. Like it's like it's a growing thing. It's something that like, but to be also honest, like transactions don't fail as often anymore on Lightning at all. Like I do see like a higher routing capability on the network. It is growing much more, but summer 2018, yeah, bro, like yeah, I feel that. But I do feel for your lost Bitcoin. That sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Out of interest, have any of you guys played around with Strike yet?
I have not. I think it's really cool, but I have not. But I think it sounds neat.
I'm a hardcore user, actually. I use it for a personal business. I'm actually an Azteco merchant, and I use Strike as my primary funding source for Azteco gift cards. And it has been a fantastic source. I think that there's a couple features I wish they had, but as a user, it works every time, and it's badass.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I can't use nor even Cash App, nor Strike, nor any of those products because of the restrictions on Venezuela, but I'm a Lightning Network hardcore Bitcoiner. We have
Nice.
a P2P market in our Satoshi in Venezuela community group that we exchange sats in Lightning for bolivars. When you need to spend like, I don't know, $5, you can change those for bolivars with us, and we have this kind of I don't know, like low profile, lo-fi Strike way to do the Lightning thing.
That's fucking badass, dude.
It's ingenuity.
$5 in bolivars. What are we looking at?
Like 10 million bolivars.
10 million bolivars equals $5.
Yes.
If that doesn't
Printing
teach you about
money,
inflation,
Millionaire.
yeah.
You said it was 10 million? Like, does that?
Yes.
We're talking about like $1 million Gatorade.
2 million bolivars for $1, almost 2 million bolivars for each dollar, and that's why we can use Lightning for really tiny P2P operations. And we also use the LNTX bot that is in Telegram, that is a Lightning Network wallet integration into Telegram, so we can exchange even tiny amounts in the public group. I mean, it's kind of solution to be excluded of bad services as Swan, as Cash App, but we have the ways to use Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's super neat. How much was it 2 years ago? What was the exchange rate 2 years ago, out of curiosity? If it's 10 million to 1 now. Or 2.
It is really hard to remember because it is changing like daily, but maybe it is in the designs order, like 10 bolivar for $1. And yes.
That gas was appropriate.
I have this bittersweet sensation as a Bitcoiner because I'm not fighting that struggle. I'm in a tiny minority of the people. I'm not a rich guy at all. I still have to work and all that kind of stuff. But there are really many people that are suffering that kind of destruction of their money. So it is hard to see how $5 it is a P2P trade between us, but it could be like a game changer for someone in the streets.
I mean, that just goes to show every sat counts, because around the world, a sat means something different to everybody.
So true.
I think on the topic of international currencies and bringing it back to Strike, for me, it's really interesting hearing the story in Venezuela. We're here in Australia where we're obviously on a different currency to the US dollar. We don't have, it's a stable currency, as stable as you can get for a fiat currency like the US dollar. But certainly for me, I'm literally hanging out waiting for Strike to get released here, because Joe's giving his perspective, speaking as a running a business that's completely unrelated to Bitcoin, as a merchant, I've never been motivated to accept Bitcoin from customers, because I just think it's too complex. Well, not complex, but it's just not adopted enough. Like, if you've got someone who's just got no idea what it even is, it's just too far of a bridge to gap if you're trying to make a sale. But with Strike, if you can say to someone, download this app, bang, you've paid in Bitcoin or Lightning immediately, that's such a game changer. So all of a sudden, you can start accepting Bitcoin for your sales, and people who have never experienced Bitcoin and who don't have any money held in Bitcoin can immediately interact with you. And the other thing is, with our network of international suppliers, like I'm every day making foreign exchange payments, it's a freaking nightmare. And it takes a week or 2 weeks, or once you get to some dodgy countries where the banking infrastructure is not good, it can take multiple weeks, and it can cost you, like, you can pay an invoice and the invoice turns up and some bank or someone in the middle has taken 10% out of it. So Strike, if we can start making international payments in Strike, I see that as just completely revolutionary as well. And yeah, it's got nothing to do with Bitcoin, the asset. It's all about the capabilities of the monetary network.
Absolutely.
I like angry Richard.
I want to say last week I met with a local guy. He runs a deli here in Arkansas. There's not a lot of Bitcoiners in Arkansas, but he came to me, and he's a mutual friend, and he said, how do I start accepting Bitcoin? And we're so lucky here in the US having Strike and having all these rich tools. I said, all you need is a sticker. Let's put a Bitcoin sticker in your window, and that's all you need. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, look, all you have to do is explain to your customers to onboard with Strike, connects to their bank account, and you literally install Wallet of Satoshi or whatever the hell you want on your phone, and you can start accepting Bitcoin immediately. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to do POS integration. Just figure it out. Just make it as easy as possible for your customers. And I'm real excited about what Jack's doing. Jack's bringing Strike global, and kid's got massive balls. And I mean, one of his first countries he's going to, I think he said it was Honduras in Latin America. So, I mean, he's going all over the place, and real excited to see what he does. But to your point, Richard, there's so much time wasted and value that's wasted in these international settlements. And if you're able to do that with the monetary network of Bitcoin, be it layer 1, layer 2 even, but layer 1, if you pay the fee, you get it in 60 minutes, that's pretty damn fast compared. And I've experienced latency issues from even the Bitcoin network. Lightning can solve it a lot, because if you're sending fiat through Bitcoin and converting back to fiat, if you got slow block times and you have a low fee, you can lose some value. So I can see what you're saying about sending some international transfers. If you're talking Forex conversion, you could lose significant value if there's big fluctuations in Forex.
Or you can
value.
gain significant value.
It can go both ways. I like to highlight the bad ones, but that's just me.
You never know. Assume it'll go south for sure.
It has to involve, I don't understand the system perfectly, but because of this time delay, it's just so complicated, because it involves hedging out the risk for that time, futures contracts and all this dumb stuff that is just completely unnecessary.
Bitcoin literally fixes this.
Yeah, and thanks to Wumbo, thanks to Wumbo, Lightning fixes this. So
no doubt.
I mean, the future's bright as far as transactions. I mean, that's what Bitcoin's about, transacting. And like you said, like, you know, time is money. You never know what's going to happen over the course of an hour, if that's how long it takes to settle your payment. But if you're going through some other third party, it might take 2 weeks, and you don't know what's going to happen between that time. Yeah. So.
Oh, final settlement is something that's like beyond valuable. I mean, any of us, I've sold art like for so long, and if you have a PayPal sale that you sold somebody art that you know even shows as delivered, if they complain, like PayPal takes that back up to 6 months away. So Bitcoin gives me like, you know, 6 confirmations I'm good. Fuck 6 months, you know.
Hell yeah.
And I've sold art for Bitcoin, and I've sold art for PayPal money, so I could give you this information honestly.
Finality is a huge feature. It's actually what kind of bugs me about Lightning. I am really into the whole like fast finality concept in newer proof of stake chains, and specifically when it comes to money, like moving Bitcoin with it. I'm floored about that. There's even a project, Nomic, doesn't even have its own token, does all the accounting in Bitcoin, but pipes it through, you know, proof of stake accounting, more or less. Very, very interesting stuff. And that one doesn't even have its own token. You know, more plumbing for Bitcoin.
Proof of stake with no token.
How do you prove your stake?
Yeah.
So, okay, the way that it works, right? Bitcoin populates this chain. They stake Bitcoin on the validators. And now, interestingly, Nomic actually interfaces with Lightning as well. This is a piece that I don't understand fully yet. But one of the more interesting projects in terms of like, how are we going to make Bitcoin actually reach capacity, which is, as we all know, it's far, far greater than the chain itself can handle. And I totally think it's possible. Not certain Lightning is the right way to do it.
Yeah, proof of stake. I feel like we're in like 2018 talking about this, but
Really?
it's definitely.
It's like,
I mean,
maybe
proof
I've been
of stake is
too,
verifiably dangerous for exchanges to hold all the tokens, and then they could be the weight voters. I mean, we saw what happened with Steam and Hive and all this weird shit. Like, I don't know, proof of stake.
I know. I founded the chain in reaction to what happened to that. So,
fair enough, you know. All right.
Oh yeah.
It's called Blurt, and you know, actually, I fully agree with you. There are issues in proof of stake. There are also different flavors of proof of stake. Personally, most interested in the Tendermint proof of stake with full finality at each block, and the ability to move funds between chains, including non-native assets like Bitcoin. That's kind of like where, I don't know, it's where I see the things going. But I'm just curious. I want to ask Nick. You said proof of stake was like 2018. Yeah, because like actually at the moment that's really a research interest of mine. Generally, is proof of stake. So I'm curious, what about it gives you 2018 vibes?
Oh, specifically, I mean, we at Bitcoin Magazine we had a little proof of stake project that we did back in the day. So, I mean, the concept to me is like that's about when I knew what it was and all that. So, honestly, hadn't heard about many proof of stake chain projects that were gaining steam since back then. Obviously, ETH moving to proof of stake is, you know, that's a thing, but yeah, it's just a different flavor.
You're not running
Also,
Dash Masternode?
yes,
I don't know much about it.
I was to comment that because that was like kind of popular here in Venezuela, and they have this idea in 2017 and 2018. I have the same vibe as Tommy, and the idea of the masternode coins that was copied by as a Dash model, like Dash was the masternodes and proof stake model to copy, and we had a fucking lot of shitcoins that had this idea of proof of stake. So yes, maybe you can find a kind of solution in some layer 2s and holding some no token that is named because of Bitcoin. I don't really get what you said, but the point is that if you have a lot of those tokens, how you can be equal to other nodes or to other master node or to other blah blah blah. that are the vibes, the 2018 vibe that I see too.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I discard masternode projects like this. I think they're all not interesting because they're selling off pieces of the infrastructure. So, you know, like categorically, even Dash, which, you know, supposedly introduced some interesting features, not interested because of the way that they privileged some nodes over others.
Massive pre-mine, not to mention.
Yeah, that too.
Secret pre-mine.
I'm just trying to think here. I think that Bitcoin solved money so well that if you're looking at other chains, you shouldn't be looking at them for monetary characteristics. Look at it for something else. If you like smart contracts, NFTs, you know, you might want to play with Ethereum. If you're looking into distributed applications, well, there's the entire like Tendermint ecosystem, there's Polkadot, there's that Avalanche thing, really interesting stuff, but they're not interesting as money. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
I think that's
I agree with that.
Let's just say,
I agree.
Like you can be curious about other things. The question comes back to what do you choose to save in and what do you trust saving in?
Chain curious.
I'm gonna leave my Dash masternode to my ancestors.
Let me
all those chains have a token. So in the end of the days, those tokens will compete with Bitcoin as money because they need those tokens to use the networks. If the networks grows exponentially, so I don't think that we need chains with other tokens to open the techie approach to solve other problems.
All right,
Yeah.
hold on.
Joe, get us off this
hijacking
shitcoin train. Yeah.
Fuck this. Let's talk something a little bit more exciting. I got a couple topics here. I'm going to spitball one. I'm going to roll some fun.
I feel like we didn't really go into the GME thing that much. We sort of went on a side, got sidetracked.
Yeah, we didn't talk much about Robinhood.
It is fascinating. And because I wanted to just elaborate on what Anil said about like this being a consequence of you know, people not having a safe way to store their money, and I agree with him. But I think there's this interesting dichotomy where people who are like let's just say wealthy people or corporations have understood what's been going on for a long time and know that you've got to hold your wealth in assets, be it stocks or real estate or whatever. And then the people who aren't holding the assets get left behind. And it's interesting watching, you know, this charge of people led by sort of Michael Saylor. You know, on the one hand, we're seeing this institutional interest in Bitcoin, and then you're also seeing this amongst the people. Like the reason everyone's behind the GameStop guys is because they're kind of representative of this grassroots movement. It's like the Occupy Wall Street thing, but it's actually doing some damage to Wall Street. But I think people who are opening Robinhood accounts, they're not necessarily looking for a way to save their money. I think they're essentially gambling, and it's a symptom of the fact that we've got to this point where there's sort of this feeling of hopelessness. You know, we've we've seen this trend going on for 40, 50 years where it's just harder, and you feel like you're on a treadmill, like you're getting a wage, and you just can't keep up with the cost of living. It's just so hard to, it's everything that you want is just getting further away from you in terms of how much it costs. So I think that's also plays a part here, that people are gambling because they just feel like there's no way that they can beat the system. And it's just, this is sort of a byproduct of that. And it just happened to work out where a bunch of guys got together and actually found a way to at least temporarily beat the system and inflict some damage on a hedge fund or multiple hedge funds. And everyone loves the kind of David versus Goliath element of that story. But then you get into the really disturbing part. The thing that shocked me more than anything was the way Robinhood was forcibly selling people's calls and people's shares without their knowledge. Like, that is just so, like, even if something doesn't drive home the reason why we're all working on unconfiscatable money, I think it's that.
Yeah, I think it started as very fitting that an app named Robinhood was going to do this to Wall Street, and then it turned ironic that it would take the death of an app like Robinhood to expose Wall Street. And we haven't seen that death yet, but I mean, I think it's around the corner for everything that you just described. I mean, a lot of what I call fuckery happened, and it woke a lot of people up.
I think that when you see what happened, I'm with you, Richard. It feels like Wall Street 2.0. The people are finally mobilized, and they actually have a weapon that they can wield. But then the fucking system castrates them. They have no fucking chance in this. And it just goes to show you how rigged the state and how nefarious they are. I mean, I say the state. I know it's the bankers, this hedge fund, Citadel, who owns Robinhood and owns fucking Melvin. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, this is happening on the state's watch. So fuck them. Fuck central bankers. Okay. They're allowing this to happen. This is a symptom of the overall problem. And what's crazy is that I think that this started as a get rich quick for a lot of folks that maybe are lurking on Wall Street bets on Reddit. And like you said earlier, this is Anil, you were saying that this is, people have to do something to stay afloat. People have to do something. People have to actively trade. It's like activity bias. You have to be active in the markets in order to stay afloat. The bad news is that a lot of people got wrecked because it was like $68 today. It was $400 a couple of days ago. So people get wrecked.
Now. Yeah.
Oh,
so what happens? And I hate to say this, but like, this is the way you get wrecked, and then you understand the system for what it is. And when you get wrecked and you see the system for what it truly is, what do you find? For some people, they find the orange pill. For some others, they just go to the next fucking scam. So I'm super optimistic. I think that this whole movement is going to bring in these fucking bullshit diamond hands into some orange pills. And, you know, I don't know. I am always optimistic. This is good for Bitcoin. I hate that people got wrecked, but overall, fuck it. I'm stacking sats.
So,
Oh yeah.
In this
Amazing. All right. We got Angry Joe. Let's get Tommy psyched up next.
Oh, I'm always angry. Jacob.
Yep.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. It's illegal for regular folks to invest in startups, and it's perfectly legal to buy lottery tickets. It is screwed up. The system is completely broken, and Joe is absolutely correct.
The main like trending term I think was institutional, or no, not institutional, retail investor. So the term retail investor pisses me off, like legit, because all that means is just human with a bank account, like that isn't well connected. So like the
you don't got $1 million,
right? Who doesn't have $1 million? So all the headlines are like, retail investors are the bad guy. They're screwing everything up. Like, look at all these stupid retail investors. And in reality, like, the headline should be, people are waking up to the big racket and demanding, that they can take part in it, basically, and they're exposed to the way that the system is set up, and now they're taking advantage of it for once. And it was just kind of twisted into, here's a sect of people that are just messing with the way things are, and it's bad. And yeah, that's what pisses me off. Anil, I'm not pissed off enough for Anil. He's having some issues. Richard, I'm gonna go grab another beer.
What do you guys think about that silver thing? Like where we saw Wall Street Bets is buying silver, and then Wall Street Bet says they're not.
It's not for me. The silver thing. Yeah.
Well, definitely not for me. Silver's a shit coin.
Guys, I think that this is like this is what Wall Street Bets has always done. I personally feel like they've been trying to identify opportunities for their friends and their group that's on Reddit to exploit something and pump and dump. I think that there's some mixed signals on if the silver squeeze is organic or if it was something that was created from the outside to pump some bags, because it never got steam. It just pumped the price of silver. I think that's very fucked up. As an outsider who has not dabbled in any of this, just observing what's happening, I think that it's clear. Stack your sats. That's the way to salvation, and that's how to really short all these motherfuckers. And but yeah, it's fascinating to watch all of this from I don't know, a sideline observer. I'm not completely out of it, but I'm watching it. I mean, I'll lurk on WSB and definitely seeing what's happening on Twitter, but curious if anyone else has an opinion on the silver squeeze.
I think people are just like clawing for transparency, for legitimately free and open markets. I think at the end of the day, that's what people want. All of this is like in defiance of, like you said, like just fuckery going in the background. Paper claims out there that can't be verified. All roads lead to one place.
That makes sense to me.
And am I massively delayed here, guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's the audio or video is not good, but I think your point came across that people are just really upset about the fuckery and people want some transparency. I think people overall feel like they've been getting short end of the stick, and I think it's clear that they have been getting the short end of the stick. But I do want to take this moment. Go ahead, Richard.
Oh no, yeah, just to add one thing on the silver. First of all, I agree with you that there's some dodgy stuff going on. Like, of course, there's sort of insiders now in the Reddit trying to pump various things, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was happening with silver. Yeah, you got the simple fact that GameStop's, as of today, it's like a $3 billion market cap, whereas silver's like 3 trillion or something. So it's much harder to do a short squeeze. But the interesting thing is we saw this happen with silver in, I think it was 1980 with the Hunt brothers, where they like cornered the silver market, and you saw this crazy short squeeze. But then, yeah, as you were saying, Joe, what's the end result? You get wrecked. Like, they got wrecked at the end of it. And one of the reasons they got wrecked was that people started melting down their silver spoons, and like all of a sudden the price rise brings all this silver, brings the commodity onto the market. And so that's, once you've read the Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean, you sort of understand this concept and stock to flow, and you understand why gold's better than silver, and you understand why Bitcoin's an order of magnitude better than gold. So as Anil says, in the end, all roads lead to Bitcoin.
Yeah, thank God for Saifedean.
Saifedean, if you're watching this, please unblock me on Twitter.
What you do?
He's got
Fair
half
ask.
a Twitter block.
Whatever. I'll be off there soon, anyways.
Reckless. All right, hold on. I'm gonna hijack it one more time, guys. I want to pivot this conversation. My friend Javier, we were talking before the call started, and I think this is a really fascinating conversation. And here in the United States, the U.S. government holds, I don't know, I think approximately 70,000 Bitcoin to their name, and they will no doubtly auction it off. I know that Pierre Richard is trying to propose legislation for the U.S. to hold it and acquire more to create some kind of sovereign trust fund for the United States, which is an interesting idea. But what I'm getting at is,
I mean, if we don't want to be a third world country, it's a good idea.
And some other countries, such as Iran, they are, some of these governments are actually mining Bitcoin. So my question to the panel would be, what are, not immediate, but what are the long-term implications of sound money infiltrating perhaps a dictator-like government? Is there an opportunity for the seeds of liberty or the idea of sound money to penetrate, the people? What would actually happen in this scenario? Let's zoom out maybe 10 years in a country that really goes hard in the paint on a mining Bitcoin.
I mean, Bitcoin's money for enemies, so it's like it has to be, what's good for everybody is good for us and good for them, and so you can't have money that's only whitelisted here. So I think it's a national security risk for the U.S. not to have Bitcoin mining as a priority, to be honest.
Yes. Countries that develop robust mining ecosystems are going to have more robust power grids. They're going to learn to source and produce energy more efficiently. Bitcoin mining at scale is literally the greenest thing I've ever seen. It takes the lowest of the low in terms of energy sources, basically excess in almost every single case, and it turns that excess into something useful that actually secures the nation. But if you'll give me just a little more time, I do want to address your point about dictatorial regimes. So hard money provides some kind of competition to a dictatorial regime, but I think you're talking about a situation where the dictator is actually mining the hard money and they keep the hard money, maybe they're even
We lost you, Jacob.
Yeah,
Lost you
It
for a
was
second.
good too.
It was good, yeah. You said the point you were saying is if the government actually keeps the hard money, what are the implications of that?
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, if the government is they're keeping the hard money, they're not letting their people use it. Well, their people are not going to share in that prosperity. I think that Bitcoin is still going to have the effect of filtering through the population. People are still going to end up holding Bitcoin in the population. And it's weird because they're competing with the state almost as sovereigns. I mean, I think you guys realize that when MicroStrategy buys their Bitcoin, they hold it exactly the same way that you do. They have some keys that controls their coins, that allows them to move them on the ledger. So point being, in some cases, Bitcoin could strengthen dictatorial regimes. And I guess that really
But that's a good thing. You want that. You want money that's able to help the bad guys as well as it's able to help the good guys. Like in your scenario, what's the end game for this country that's holding the money and not letting their people use it? Why are they doing this? That doesn't make sense to me. Okay, all right. Well, fair enough.
I think what Jacob just said, I think is exactly right, and it's something that I was thinking of myself. I think if you try and think through this to the end game, I agree that the dictator playbook here, which I assume is what we're going to see in Pakistan or Iran, Iran, the countries that are nationalizing mining, is that the dictator, the state, is going to try and hold the Bitcoin, exactly as Jacob said, whilst at the same time continuing to impose on the citizens the fiat standard. So Bitcoin is a tool that could be used for good or bad. So I think unfortunately with the dictatorial regime, they're going to continue to try and impoverish their citizens and hold the Bitcoin to enrich themselves until the whole thing explodes, which is just basically a fast forwarding of what we're going to see in a lot of countries that aren't even so ill-intentioned. But to Jacob's point about Bitcoin being, the point of Bitcoin being you personally hold it and you have the sovereignty, that's the way to fight back. So if these citizens can themselves get hold of the actual Bitcoin, that's the offsetting, source of power in those countries. And that's why it's so promising when you see countries like Nigeria or Turkey or Venezuela, where you're seeing such an active market for peer-to-peer Bitcoin exchanges, because I think that's the way Bitcoin helps these countries, is if it's in the hands of the people, because it is by definition an anti-state money. Like, I think if a state adopts Bitcoin in the right way, if a state allows its citizens to use Bitcoin freely, that must, I think, come at the expense of the state's hold on power. Like, I think that's a dichotomy that can't be avoided. So it will be interesting to see how various states react to this, and it'll be amazing to see a state embrace it. Like you are seeing certain parts of the US, the leadership maybe at least thinking about this, saying we understand that the best way forward for a society is to have sound money, to have a reduced government control. So, I think that's the way forward. It'll be interesting to see if it actually happens anyway.
In the US, I think we're hopelessly addicted to fiat, and I don't think we're going to be able to shake it. But globally, I think that there's just such a huge wealth creation opportunity for a country to go Bitcoin native in terms of backing their money, and crypto native in terms of their law. They'd be able to leapfrog everybody.
I mean, that's what I see more, is that they'd back their money rather than, not allowing the citizenry to use it. You'd go to that Safedeem Bitcoin standard in those regime countries. But I think dictators are going to dictate. Like it's not Bitcoin that's at fault here. Like whatever they're going to leverage to come up, it doesn't matter what it is. Like Bitcoin has no fault here. It's you just don't want something that can whitelist a dictator, because if it can whitelist a dictator, that shit ain't Bitcoin no more. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like you don't want white.
What about this? What about the fifth column? The idea of, pleb army within these governments, because someone's going to have access to these fucking keys.
That's right.
Dictators only want the key.
Hey,
I
dictators,
mean, like,
right. No,
dictators, listen. If
they
you want to,
they
be
won't even know the
legit,
key.
No,
you stack some sats. You let your people stack some damn sats too. If you want to be a real dictator in the future, and you want to dictate anything of value, you need to be stacking some damn sats. And let's not be assholes. Let's let your people stack some damn sats too. And then you got a whole country full of sat stackers. And if the USA is not stacking damn sats, then all of a sudden USA is a damn third world country, and you're not. Not such a bad problem.
That's the most optimism way to see this. But when you are living through the plan being played.
Yeah, man. I'm not trying to be insensitive to your situation, man.
But I mean,
but if he's watching, motherfucker, don't blame this guy.
They are even trying to keep the hash rate of Venezuelan miners grouped in a national pool. They have these kind of ideas, so it maybe. I don't know if all the dictators' playbook will be the same, but if they today Venezuela maybe is accumulating to pay some bills, because we have a source that say that we pay in Bitcoin to Turkey to get some oil. So we are the regime is using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. But if they get this idea that Jacob mentioned it recently, like if you hodl the Bitcoin, maybe you can even, I don't know, keep the people only exchanging their Bitcoins for your shitcoin, the petrol. Like, I don't know, these kind of ideas of making the people to use the fiat system and they stacking the sats will be a really bad scenario.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Be wary of the central bank digital currencies. They are coming. There's going to be a lot of shit coins out here that are tied to a central bank. That's not Bitcoin. Just be aware of that.
How does it play out though? Help me, guys, on the game theory. So the government is stacking sats
Stable
for
coins.
themselves.
They're going to issue
hold on.
a CDC stablecoin.
I'm not asking about that. I'm asking the government itself is mining Bitcoin for itself and it's stacking sats, and then it just forces shitcoin fiat standard upon its citizenry, and it just keeps inflating it. Like, how does that? What is the game theory on that? Like, doesn't eventually like
arbitrage
it crumble? Don't the people rise up?
They don't need to show you where they stack the sats. They can only say that they have I don't know, a thousand bitcoins backing the CBDC that they are using or they are forcing in the citizens, and they could use Bitcoin in a dark way, like we are holding Bitcoin, but not like MicroStrategy saying we have 700,000 Bitcoins, not even mentioning the numbers. In that case, we can't verify that they already have those numbers. So it could place like a fiat standard, but they stacking the sats to be in the geopolitical game. I think that it could place like that.
Yeah, the stacking sats on the arbitrage of your shitcoin in order to build up an armory, essentially, of wealth in the geopolitical game. So, and all the while, your citizens are transacting in this meaningless, valueless shitcoin that just pumps your scheme.
I would say that this has already occurred. Look at printing U.S. dollars by military.
It's fiat in
printing U.S. dollars. Yeah, they print, then they buy stuff. Hell, recently there's been this trend of printing U.S. dollars to buy votes. That's what stimulus checks are, people. That's it. Keep us in office. Here's some dollars.
So I know this is way off topic, and I don't want to hijack the topic, but I tend to be a UBI advocate, but I'm only a UBI advocate because I realize that the fiat system is already on its deathbed, and I think UBI is the euthanasia that allows us to get from here to the next paradigm with the hyper Bitcoinization in a peaceful way, so that people aren't rioting in the streets because they don't have any buying power in order to participate in the next financial system.
I've never heard it that way, and that's very cool.
It's not a popular way to describe it because it's admitting that UBI is going to bankrupt the system. And I'm not saying that it will. I mean, it can, if done improperly. You can totally implement UBI in a way, in a fiat system that sustains. But, I mean, fiat systems, in definition, don't sustain. So it's really just an off-ramp into the hard money that is Bitcoin, and that's the way I see it. And that's why I think as jobs get automated away, as countries hyperinflate themselves out of competition with the market, like it's about having your citizens having a fair chance at the new financial system, so that violent riots don't ensue in the street because nobody has any hope, you know?
No, I hear that, but soon we're gonna have Javier's situation where $1 is worth like, or there's like 10 million in 2 years. So I mean, it's both, because then with like,
right.
Okay, so if you're giving everybody like this UBI every month, $2,000 a month, like what happens to anybody with savings? They're penalized. So then we come back to this GME stuff again, and then like it's the circle never ends. I mean, the circle only ends because of Bitcoin at this point.
Right.
In that argument,
I think that I postulated the question because maybe I'm just such a psycho optimist, I was hoping someone would take the position that Bitcoin would infect the people somehow, but I guess you guys are taking the position that the people would never even touch Bitcoin.
I'm infected.
I'm just saying.
I think you're correct that there comes a point where the employees of the government, well, there's the issue that you said about like literally who's holding the private keys, but at some point they will demand to be paid in Bitcoin, I think. And so
I agree. They'll do it.
And that's how that's why these people who are worried about Bitcoin as merchants not accepting Bitcoin as being a problem are on the wrong track, because it's people have to demand. It's the demand for Bitcoin, whether you demand it as a salary or as a merchant, you demand Bitcoin because that's the good money.
So like
the end game.
The generals and the highest of the high elite would demand Bitcoin, and then they want to be able to spend it. And who are they going to spend it with in their own country? The people. Like, there's no doubt that it would trickle down at some point.
You hope.
And now you have free money flying within a country with a dictatorship. I don't know.
And eventually it's in the interest of the government to ask for taxes in Bitcoin. And the only way they can do that is to ensure that their people have the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I was to ask if you think that maybe firms like Chainalysis or Elliptic could be a way to link this disseminated Bitcoin in the hands of the people, to tax them and to even stole over the Bitcoins that they are given, like creating a kind of loop where the government, the regime, keep stacking the sats through taxation, but the people can keep the whole satoshis they have in their normal economics. Maybe Chainalysis and this kind of firms could be a piece between the Bitcoin standard and in a free market of monies and the taxation over this market. I don't know.
I think it's why they exist. I'll just leave it at that. I believe that is their business model. End of story.
Right. Yeah, they're probably working for the taxation armies for sure.
I think an interesting dynamic you're seeing, though, is, say, certain jurisdictions openly throwing it out there that we either will not tax Bitcoin at all, or it'll be at a very low rate to attract Bitcoiners. Because I guess if you're a government and you want to collect Bitcoin from your citizens, you first need to attract Bitcoiners to your jurisdiction. So I think that's where competition's really going to heat up in the near future. We're starting to see that now.
I mean, I think people will be in Javier's situation where they're saying, hey, I have to flee my current local currency, whatever the heck it is, into Bitcoin because that's the stable money. So like people are going to be going through that all over the world. So that's probably going to be what drives adoption. So I think it is going to happen at the P2P level, which does make sense for Bitcoin. And then, go straight up because it's so ingrained. Like at this point, you do have like that heavy institutional vibe since November with like the MicroStrategy and all that. So you have that very high-end vibe. Then you're going to have the very like grassroots, the people community coming together and using it because, hey, this isn't stealing the hours that I worked for.
Yeah. Joe, where are we at topic-wise?
I hate central bankers, Tommy.
The topic is central bankers.
I hate central bankers.
Yeah, okay,
fiat
I think
sucks.
that we can all agree.
Okay.
Fucked all that shit.
Yep.
I'm pissed off. Okay, so hey, quick question. Did anyone happen to catch any of the Bitcoin for corporations, any sound clips, any sound bites from
Yeah, I saw all that.
All right, Jacob, you're the outcast. perhaps.
All right. Yeah, no, I'd love to hear about it, actually.
All right. So our good friend Giga Chad, Michael Saylor, hosted for his enterprise tech company, MicroStrategy, their yearly kind of kickoff customer event. And it was completely virtual this year, thanks to COVID. Anyway, so they had a bunch of different talk tracks. And one of their core focuses as a company is enterprise software. And the second one is stacking as much Bitcoin as possible. So one of the talk tracks that they did as a corporation this year was Bitcoin for corporations. They essentially opened their corporate playbook that they've developed in stacking now more than $1 billion worth of Bitcoin themselves, with more than 1,200 corporate companies. And I think more than 10,000 individuals signed up for the overall sessions themselves. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at is they had an entire day. They had 6 hours of Bitcoin communication, talking to companies that are prospective about stacking sats for themselves. Overall, I sat through it all. I live tweeted it. I want to blow my brains out at the end because it was a long day, but extremely bullish. And I'd be curious if anyone else saw any of the clips, any highlights, any thoughts. I've got a ton of them. Would love to hear anyone else's input on an enterprise tech company hosting their kickoff for customers and talking about Bitcoin for a whole day.
I thought it was very amazing, honestly, to see that. And I actually want to like take a step back instead of talking about like the most amazing parts, which are like the keynote stuff, to like the back end stuff, which was more like the Bitcoin for corporations, the legal considerations. That stuff was super cool. And, you know, you see on Twitter people saying, hey, we should front run these corporations. They're going to start buying stuff on Friday, or they're going to try to buy stuff on Tuesday. No, like the way that they're outlining this is you need to go to your shareholders. You need to go to this. You need to have your plan. You need to go to your CTO. Like this looks like a 2 to 3 month plan, like to even just present it to the people properly. So like front running these people is what we get this whole next few months to do, to be honest. Those people that are getting this information now need to work this into their whole company, their infrastructure, and then bring that out to the board. So, you know, everything that was seeded today, you're going to see this kind of blossoming over the next few months. You're not going to see this on Monday, you know? So like, hey, this is like, you got time.
Bullish.
Stack.
Yeah, I hope y'all bought that dip. Anyone else watch that shit?
Yeah, I didn't see the prices, but that Ross conversation was probably the most bullish thing I've ever seen. I don't know if y'all read that.
Wait, did you say Ross?
Yes, Ross Stevens.
Ross
Stevens.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, like that talk. If you read his letter, like I've actually referenced that letter in my Bitcoin Magazine article. Like that was some very powerful stuff, specifically on the eco-friendly nature.
Backtrack on who he is, if you don't.
Oh, sorry.
You're watching.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Ross Stevens, I've never heard of him prior to the last few weeks, but I guess he's the head of like of some hedge fund or some kind of investment firm, and they're very Bitcoin focused. I guess they have a $6 billion worth of Bitcoin under management right now, and he said he wants to have 25 billion by end of year. So they're players. You know, they said they've been in Bitcoin since 2013. Some of them, they started moving more heavily into it since 2017, and they're using it as a reserve asset, just like MicroStrategy. So I don't know if he gave guidance to Michael Saylor, but he's certainly a player in the scene that was kind of quietly doing things, and no one really heard about him before he released this shareholder letter, which was honestly like amazing stuff. Like his whole little case for the eco-friendly nature of Bitcoin and how you can start utilizing stranded energy sources in very remote areas to build very cool eco-friendly communities was extremely like bullish and like very good for humanity. And you really see how Bitcoin can help humanity. Like, so I don't know. I thought that was amazing.
It's like you mine more Bitcoin, the electricity gets cheaper. You get better at building semiconductors at scale, and you can deliver the electricity more effectively. It's like literally the effects of Bitcoin on the energy industry are some of the most positive things for humanity writ large imaginable. And it really bugs me when neophytes, they come in, they look in, and they're like, but it consumes so much energy.
Yeah. Can you believe that's still like a common FUD out there? You know, like Still,
This guy destroys it better than anybody. You know, I was really bullish when I read that thing, and that's why, like, and it kind of just came out as I was writing that article, so I was like, man, I'm gonna link to this. It's like really super current, and like, you know, because the eco-friendly part that I have in my little sculpture, I think is the most controversial part of Bitcoin, because there's like it boils the oceans and stuff like that narrative of, you know, it uses more energy than Sweden, those type things. So my position is Ross's position. It's eco-friendly. This helps the world. This helps, you know, humanity.
Yeah, I think the Ross interview is just, that was incredible, because Michael Saylor and Ross Stevens obviously have a close relationship. They know each other well. Michael Saylor knows Ross Stevens' opinions on Bitcoin, but they had this rehearsed dance, and it was pure theater. It was like perfectly choreographed orange pilling corporations. If you haven't checked it out, I think there's a few links on YouTube, but it was crazy to see someone or two people who were very like by the book, you know, regulatory approved, just totally turn on the institutions being like central banks, which apparently Joe just hates. I don't know where he got that from. But the tone of that conversation totally changed. It was very like, here's how you short the dollar. That was honestly the essence of that conversation. That's what I took from it. So super bullish for Bitcoin. It's the Overton window has shifted. It is now socially acceptable to shit on the Fed, which Joe loves.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No, I definitely saw that. I want to push back on the scripted nature just because there was two things that I saw. The first was that like Saylor looked legitimately surprised when he said he was going to have 25 billion under management this year. Like that looked like he was surprised. And then when he said that Bitcoin might last forever, he almost literally did a face palm. And so like those two things were like, I don't know.
I don't know. I felt like it was totally scripted. I felt like it was
fair enough. All right.
Saylor tossing a softball. And for
You could actually see Stevens reading at certain points.
Absolutely. I
See him
saw the
reading off a
reading,
script.
but
Yeah,
I didn't know if they had pre-done it.
Yeah. I
But
felt
I
like
agree.
total
Oh, sorry,
softballs.
Joe, you go.
No,
yeah.
I'm not saying anything.
Just to echo, what FractalEncrypt said, and what I agree with him and Anil. And yeah, I had the same experience. Like I never heard of this guy, and then I read the Stone Ridge letter a few weeks ago, and you're like, well, this guy gets it like better than just about anyone I've ever heard. And that all straight into the armory of go-to pieces. Like I sent that around to all sorts of people, and then this interview is another one that's like already that's the thing to send. As Anil said, it targets a certain group of people. Like it's all well and good for us to sit here and talk about Bitcoin like we're kind of plebs, you know. We're pretty anti-state, whereas those guys are just talking to a completely different audience, and an audience that has the money and the power. And it's just, I think back to Pierre Rochard's article, which I checked the date, 2014. He wrote his article about speculative attack on the US dollar. He laid out the playbook, and here it is. Like we're seeing it exactly as he predicted. So I wasn't in Bitcoin back at that time, but just the foresight that these early guys had, you even see it in some of the early message boards, like in 2010, 2011, like as soon as you understand Bitcoin's core proposition, you can sort of write the playbook for how it then eats the US dollar.
I listened to Michael talking, and it amazed me. It still amazes me that the Bitcoin started in a really humble origin with Satoshi, and then Hal, and then other couple of guys, and then it grows bigger and bigger and bigger, and now the economic elites are talking about it and how to play out to use it to take the advantage of it. And it is really great to see people that take the time to understand how big how big it could grow, and also how it could be useful to their own elite and ultra wealthy goals, because it is useful to me, it is useful for dictators, it is useful for companies. So yeah, it is the self fulfilled prophecy of Bitcoin happening in our eyes.
I think Fractal put it pretty well. Like, if it's not useful to your enemy, then why is it useful to you? You know?
Right.
It
If
blew
you
my
can block
mind.
them, they can block you.
I just want to say, like, I've worked for a Fortune 50 tech company, and I've sat through our global kickoff with customers. And it is mind blowing to think about an enterprise software company devoting essentially an entire talk track to fucking Bitcoin. And they started Bitcoin like economics 101. They're talking about like central banking monetary policy around the world is how they kicked it off with the Ross conversation. And Fractal, I think you nailed it out of the park. I mean, like, the icing on the cake was opening up the playbook and talking about, accounting considerations and financial considerations that companies need to think about. You need a good partner. You need a good playbook. You need a lot of fingerprints on the gun. You need to talk to a lot of people. You need shareholders to be on board. There's so many things you need to think about. But the best thing to do is to get started, So overall, my impressions was incredibly bullish day. It just really, I don't know how to say it better than it blows my mind that you're seeing an enterprise software, like hyper intelligence company, spending half of their breath, half of their livelihood talking and spreading the gospel of Bitcoin, like what we're doing, but now on an enterprise tech scale. It's crazy.
Totally. Yeah. If the value or market cap of your company has pretty much tripled as a result of this thing, and now you're incentivized to go out and sell it to other companies to do the exact same thing, and you can do it under the guise of, well, we're just looking out for shareholders, which is our mandate. So it's a very noble cause. Please join us.
Hey, I don't feel
Makes sense.
Like,
yeah, I
they
don't
pump
feel
the bags
any...
for themselves.
Well,
Yeah.
not only that, but what they did was they told people not only get started, like Joe said, but once you do, continue to keep buying and make that, like, just like they say, hey, it can, according to our reserve policy, we purchase more Bitcoin. They actually told everybody else to do that same thing. Like, once you get in, like, make your policy and figure out what you want to do, and then, like, accordingly, like, keep going in. So, like, that,
it isn't buy
advice.
once and then stop.
Yeah.
It's dollar cost average on a fucking corporate scale.
And like Anil said, that's like the super speculative attack. Like, we're already in. We got it in at 11. We got it in at 20. We got it in at 30. You guys want all in now too. And like, that benefits them and it benefits everybody. So it's like win-win.
Bro, my favorite meme of yesterday was Sailor's legendary, the parable of the Argentine rancher. I don't know if y'all remember this part, but he goes through this glorious story about this Argentine rancher trying to get out of the Argentine peso and how the fuck can he stack more US dollars. And oh my God, he essentially lays out his corporate playbook, but for an Argentine cattle rancher. Must listen. And it's literally the corporate playbook that he lays out, but in a story, in only a sailor way of telling a story that anyone can grasp and understand. It was a special moment in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Michael Saylor is that guy that you find around the campfire late at night that has like a bunch of people around him, because he's not the person who understands Bitcoin the best, but he's the best storyteller you will find related to Bitcoin.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a poet in himself. You see some of these tweets he comes out with, and it's like, he's like bordering on poetry here. This is no longer prose.
You think he can shred a guitar? Probably.
Nah.
If he can't, he can sing.
You guys are too much.
Yeah, the Sailor Love Fest. Shall we continue, or is
No,
there?
look, I think that this is a good segue, maybe one of the last topics. So look, I think that it's clear this is good for Bitcoin, but in Bitcoin, one of our favorite things to say is slay your heroes. And I would be curious to get anyone's opinion on our friend Elon. His rise last week, going hashtag Bitcoin in the profile, and then of course debauchery in the past 24 hours.
Dude, I
Well, he's
fucking
been the
followed him the other
Dogecoin
day, and now
CEO.
I'm out.
What was that, Fractal?
I just said I finally caved in and followed him the other day, and now I'm already out. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm a big fan. Like, I think my dad bought a Tesla before it was cool, and like, I've been a huge Tesla fan for a long time, because those cars are next level, and like no one can dispute that. Elon as a shitcoiner, that's a different topic. Um, actually, this was requested in the Twitch chat, so it's good that we've touched on Elon tonight. I've heard that we're supposed to hate Elon now. It's like Elon, our love affair with Elon is now over. I don't know about that personally.
I mean, man's a genius rocket scientist. He's built like crazy stuff. Like, I mean, that all respect to for sure. But it's just to some degree, I guess, like the Doge tweets. He says he's having fun. It's just a joke, and I totally see that. But like, I don't know. It's like, I mean, people actually buy that shit after he says Doge, and like, I mean, people get wrecked. I mean, but honestly, he can't help it that people are idiots. So I guess there's two sides to every story.
Yes, if people buy something because Elon tweets, they deserve to get wrecked.
Yes,
I
amen.
don't think that he's doing a good thing because even without the lens of Bitcoin, I mean, in the big picture, you are the CEO of a big company shilling some meme coin that don't have any active approach to develop the network or anything, and the week before you are kind of trolling the Bitcoin community doing the Bitcoin bio thing. So what are you on? He's just having fun, yes, and that's it's okay. And the people that get stressed because he tweets deserve it, but we need to slay all these guys. I
Yeah.
think that if someone have the power to make a 10% up in the price of Bitcoin, it is not good for Bitcoin at all. Besides, it make the Satoshis more valuable against fiat. It is too much. Too big responsibility on someone that doesn't cares at all about it.
It kind of goes against the crypto anarchy principles, right?
That doesn't care about it at all, I think, is really keying in on. First of all, I love Javier. Everything he said tonight has been fucking so spot on. But yeah, like, yeah, just the doesn't care. I think that's the part that really rubbed me wrong. It's like, I mean, obviously you're an idiot if you buy Doge anyways, but
Yeah, didn't he say
okay.
that he was gonna withstand from posting about all of that, and then all of a sudden he's talking about Doge again? Like, nah.
Hey, Fractal, why don't you kick us off with any final thoughts on the night?
Yeah, we got to wrap this
Any
up.
kind of sign off and
Okay, well, I would be remiss if I didn't shill like the project that let me like auction my little art thing on their platform. It's a fucking super dope little group of grassroots Bitcoiners that have been building this like project on Lightning, and it's also on main chain, so you could bid on Lightning or main chain. It's Bitcoin only, and I'm super excited about it. It's called Scarce City, so definitely check them out on Twitter. It's Scarce at scarce.city, and like their website is actually just scarce.city, so scarcity. So it's super cool. Like it's I'm not the only artist there. There's actually a whole group of artists like that are all doing this, or we're all working together, and it's really like a first principles thing. And I'm really bullish on that, and I'm really thankful and honored that they let me, bring my art onto this platform, because it's definitely something that I wanted to do and I'm thankful for. So I definitely wanted to give a shout out to them first and foremost. And thanks to you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Dude.
Hey, who do you want to pass it to next?
Well,
Oh, man. All right. Well, Javier, he's my man here.
Thanks a lot, man, and thanks a lot, guys, for having me. We had a blast. And if you can follow Satoshi in Venezuela on YouTube, Satoshi in Venezuela, it will really great. We have a lot of interviews with Bitcoiners, mainly Spanish speakers, Bitcoiners, but we also had Matt Odell, Samurai Wallet, Rodolfo Novak. You can check them out. We chatted in English. My English is broke as fuck, but we can you can enjoy them. And also thanks for the space to chat about Bitcoin. I really love Bitcoin. I hope everybody is as orange pilled as we are. But well, if they are not today, they will be when the sats gets more valuable. So thanks for having me, guys.
If you could drop that link in the chat, Javier, then I will follow that that Bitcoin Venezuela that you mentioned.
Anil, why don't you kick us off next?
Cool. Thanks to Bitcoin Magazine for having me and putting this on. It's cool to just connect with a bunch of people all over the world who are united in the common front of, sound money and sound thinking. So yeah, this is great fun, guys.
Jacob, what do you think?
It was a blast, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. Thanks to everybody who, debated, and looking forward to, I guess I'm doing this again in like 2 weeks, and that's super as well. So Bitcoin it up and be extremely discriminating if you're going to purchase any token other than BTC.
Very good. My friend Richard, you're on mute.
Oh shit, sorry. It was a pleasure to chat with you all. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I'll just there's a project going on that I'm working on right now. It's like a community effort to fight back against Craig Wright a little bit. It's called the Bitcoin Voice Paper Project. It's an initiative of Dim Zayan. He's got a bunch of people together. So I won't say anything more except keep an eye out for that in the next few weeks. That'll be really cool.
Oh, drop a link for that. We must support that.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I'm open for that.
I'm hopeful that we can do some kind of collaboration with you guys at Bitcoin Magazine on that. But
absolutely, yeah. Bitcoin Magazine might be a good spot to keep an eye out as soon as we have a link or a website or anything.
We are not afraid of Craig, so please keep us in the loop for sure.
Respect.
I got a tight line with them, so I think we'll be all right. Tommy boy, what do you think, man? You want to kick us off with some final remarks and then hit the B-roll?
Yeah. So I'm going to echo what FractalEncrypt said. Scarcity is where it's happening right now in the Bitcoin art world. We talked a lot about NFTs, and obviously that's an ETH topic, but scarcity is doing big things. And shout out to that group of people right there. I can't wait to see what comes out of there. Also, the Bitcoin 2021 conference there. I screwed up. There should have been a big old ad at the corner of the screen where there's not anything at the corner of the screen. Y'all should have known that tomorrow is your last day to get a ticket for $249. It goes up to $299 after tomorrow. So if you want to get a ticket to Bitcoin 2021, go ahead and get it today, get it tomorrow, but hurry up because the price is going up. If you buy your ticket with Bitcoin, you save $50. It's going to be the biggest Bitcoin conference of all time. The follow-up to Bitcoin 2019, if you attended that, it's going to be just like that, but bigger in every way that you can imagine. FractalEncrypt's going to be there displaying his beautiful mural, or not murals, his sculptures. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be incredible. I hope everybody here is going to be there. If you don't already have your ticket, hurry up and get your ticket to Bitcoin 2019 or shit. I hope you went to Bitcoin
Bud Lights
2019.
are catching up, guys.
Get your ticket to Bitcoin 2021. It's going to be in Miami, and I'm going to run a commercial right here after this to remind you. But
Thanks to everyone for joining.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Until next time.
Hell yeah. It's been real as hell.
Later.
Much
Thanks for
love, guys.
joining,
Thanks for
guys.
having me, man.
Have a look.
Great time, guys.